Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T. Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Invite you to go down to, on the subscribe tab, scroll down to one of the icons of your choice where you can hear us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, Audacity. Download one of those. You can hear all of our past broadcasts. You'll hear all of our future broadcasts. And please don't forget to sign up for our newsletter where you can stay in touch with what's coming up on our future shows. Today, I would like to introduce you to Mark Relic and his book, The Woods. Mark graduated from Hospitality College, started traveling. Writing became a little bit afterward from that. He likes to consider writing a bit of a superpower. Traveling and writing became his identity. Here comes The Woods, one of Mark's novels. Mark is a linguist, a spiritualist, and he's an English teacher. Mark, why don't you take it from here and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Thank you for talking to me. I appreciate that. And I would just like to say one big hello and thank you for all your listeners and followers. Yeah, sure. Well, if I try to introduce myself, much like you said, I graduated from college, hospitality college, hotel management, and then I sort of set off. I started traveling because that's simply something I always wanted to do. That's a big part of my identity. And so I started spending my time and my life at different places. And I think that's a big reason how and why writing came afterwards. Although it came like totally unexpected. It came spontaneously. So it came also from different all these different elements. Little by little, I was more aware of that because if somebody told me that one day I would write a book, let alone like 4 novels, I would be like, what? You must be mistaken me with somebody else. Yeah, exactly. So
I was going to ask you.
Right.
I was going to actually ask you when it said one of the novels. I was going to say, well, how many novels have you written? So is it 4?
Well, who's counting? Yes, I think it's 4, right? 4 novels. 4 novels. That's right. 4 novels, including Woods.
Okay.
You know what? That's always a strange feeling to tell you how many, because sometimes I get confused by that because I'm always in some process, and sometimes I find myself strangely aware of like what I'm currently working on, and like if I think, okay, like what is it? Like it's sometimes it's confusing, like how much stuff are there. But yes, 4 novels, and so I am lucky to Oh, really? You can hear me? Wow. I can't hear you nor see you. So, can't hear you. All right. Something is happening with your video. I'm just waiting for you to come back to see if we have this thing settled. So right now, I don't have a visual. I don't have an audio. So, it can be something about connection. Wow, okay, you have both. I have none. I have none. So, all right. So, I guess we can try to. This question through here. Okay. I mean, so do you think it's the same though? Do you think it's the same if you ask questions through the chat box?
Well, I can ask questions through my microphone.
Maybe you can ask questions, but I can answer this way. Sure, we can try that too. Yeah.
Right, because I can be picked up through here, and I can ask the question and type it at the same time.
If you feel that's easier, you can ask questions through the chat box, and I can try my best to answer this way if you can hear me and see me.
Yeah, no problem. So what I'm going to ask you is, are you a
so let me know what suits. Because right now I have you black. It's like buffering.
Are you a self-publishing author?
Yes, I am self-publishing author. I had both situations. I was self-publishing, but I had a publisher as well. I have both cases. Sure.
Are you an indie author?
I am also an indie author. That means mostly yes. That means I am responsible for my text. I'm responsible for my cover. I'm responsible for how everything looks like. The whole thing, how the final product. I mean, I dare to say the product, how the whole thing looks like. So I mean, if that characterizes as indie author, sure. It's just that I had all the cases. I managed the whole process. I produced it. But right now I have a publisher. So I guess.
You've done both.
I am.
I get it.
An author with the publishing house. So yeah.
Okay, so for your writing, what was probably your worst author moment? What was your worst author moment?
Well, so I mean, I hope this can answer that question. Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah. So it's always funny, and it's always very strange, odd to talk about the process of writing in this way, because it's very unpredictable, and it's very, very rewarding, and it's rewarding in a sense that it comes as a surprise. So I can't say that I had the worst moments, but I can tell you that the universal so-called worst moment is that I guess facing the blank page. I mean, much like many other authors, I guess I had a writer's block when I can write, but so. I mean, I guess that's a part of the process, and the way you handle that. So again, blank page must be the worst, so-called worst moment, because you fight that fan page, you fight that feeling every single time you set to write something.
So what do you do when you get a block?
So, on the other hand, you simply can't write if the time is not right. I'm not sure if that makes sense. So not every time is the best time for this, because we're talking about creative process, and creative process asks for proper time, and sometimes you never know what the time is. So what do I do when I have a writer's block? I just do something else. I just do something else. I try very hard to fight that feeling, so-called block, because like every block you can break it. Every block you can break it, right? I mean, not always, but you can try, and you spend a while doing that. But then if it doesn't work, you just don't waste your time. You do not waste your time. You go on and do something else. Because when you do that, you break that circle. You break that process. You break that feeling. And when you come back to the table, it's surely different. It's surely different because you refresh it. You refresh it and you come clean slate. You start from the beginning. Or you take off wherever you left off, and you simply give your best shot. You give your best shot. You give your absolute best. That really depends on how much you are aware, how much you are conscious of that story you want to tell, and how you feel about it. Because, like I said, not every time is the right time for that to be the most satisfaction.
Right. Okay, tell us about your epiphany moment, the incredible light bulb went off in the head. I have got to get a pen and paper. I have got to write this down now.
Okay, well, so let me try to answer this question for you. Epiphany moments. That's an interesting question because I think there are more of them. I would tell you that I could tell you that epiphany moments are every time you have the proper understanding, satisfying understanding of what the story is. Because for me, storytelling is very personal. You have to feel that on a personal level to be able to tell it in a certain way. If not, then it's just it's something else. And so, yeah. So yeah, epiphany is every time you get surprised. That's important as well. Surprise is a key element. Much like I said before, you create and you get to be best creative when you're surprised, and that means when you are fired up inside, when you are when you feel that excitement, when you feel that drive. That's the most precious thing about any creative process, I think. So yes, the work and act of holding a surprise. Surprise is quite basically, surprise is pretty much why I do it. If I don't get surprised, the whole thing is different.
Well, then it's no fun.
So yeah, surprise is incredible because surprise keeps you fresh, and surprise, it comes as a surprise. You never know where surprise is coming from. So that's the particular thing.
So are you able to hear me now?
And so when it comes, you appreciate that.
Are you able to hear me now? No? Okay. One more. What is the one thing that you are the most fired up about today, right now?
Oh, wow. The one thing I'm the most fired up about today, right now. Well, there are many things I'm fired up. I'm fired up right now today. The big part of that is that I live in a present moment. So that's the most real thing for me. Living in a moment, living in a present moment, and all the things that are possible at present, right now, something that you have right now. So. So I try to fire up that feeling. I try to, to appreciate that, because I think if you are appreciative of that moment will reward you properly and extensively. But again, you have to be, you have to be aware of that, and you simply have to know from practicing. You have to know how to get yourself in that situation, that state. Once you get that, the whole thing, it's just your nature, the second nature. So I believe in the moment of now. That's a very good question.
Right.
I believe in the moment of now, but I think the moment of now changes. It's never the same. That's why it's unbelievable. So the most fire up thing about it is the moment of now. That's the only thing we have. And by the way, that's something that the novel Woods is much about, the moment of now. The moment of now is very powerful, and it continues on.
Again, this is Michael T., and I thank our listeners for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to the bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. And hit that subscribe tab on the top. Scroll down to the tab of your choice, the icon such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Audacity, and find them on your favorite platforms where you can download and follow us there. And please do not forget to sign up for our newsletter for information for our upcoming shows. And our newsletter is not a wall of words. Our newsletter is a video newsletter. And you get to see me as a video newsletter. Okay, now we are having a bit of a technical difficulty here, so I'm having to type in.
Well, yeah, sure. Could you be more specific? Like, could you tell me more about what do you mean by this? I mean, I have an idea what this means, but I would like to hear more details about this, if you don't mind. What was holding me back? I didn't have so many things holding me back from anything I do, because once I set myself up to do something, I rarely, to say never, never hold back. That's my nature. Otherwise, I mean, I start and I don't finish, or I don't start at all. When I start, I give my 100%, or I don't start at all. So I didn't have any holdbacks from that particular act. But I think more challenging thing is understanding how to do it, because it keeps evolving. That's more something that challenges each time you do it. So it's not like hold back in a classical sense, I guess, but it's more like, going deep down into your loins, right? Going deep down into your chest, and checking you out, like, questioning everything, I guess. Questioning everything. So when that happens, it really matters how certain you are in what you are doing. And it's okay if you're not, because you repeatedly have a chance to discover that all over again. And that's a very good school, because you simply discover enough reasons for why you do that. Like, and I think if you once you realize that, you can be only stronger. So yeah, I mean, those are just something that comes organically. Like it's like a raw emotion inside. So holdbacks, not really. I just spent sometimes I spent a longer time not doing that than usual. Sometimes I wish I write more, and I don't. I simply don't, because I think, like I said before, sometimes it's not proper time, and sometimes I'm overstretched with doing other things, because I'm a writer and much more. So I guess that's yeah. The best advice I've ever received. Well, so this is a very significant question. Right now, I'm just trying to think about the best advice I've ever gotten. Yes, well, maybe this is the one. Well, considering I was growing up by with all these writers, reading them. The great majority of them were from USA, like American writers, and so on quite a few occasions, I think that the old saying, oldie but a goodie, is that, like, if you want to be a writer or any artist, you should tell your own story. You should tell your own. You should keep realizing and keep understanding your own identity. So don't bother telling other people's stories. You can tell about them. You can talk about them, but not their story. You're telling your story, so stick with your story. Stick with your story and try your best to be your best version of it. Again, be your best version of it. Try to tell your story and be the best version of it. Okay, one of my personal habits that contribute to oh wow, well, that's interesting as well. Habits. My habits are different, and there are many. I'm a pretty active person, so my habits are being creative, I guess. I have, of course, things I do every day, but they're not the same. So every time I do something the same way every day, I try to be productive in that sense. I try to be more understanding, because I think habits, quite simply, habits can make us better people. Although it sounds simple, right? Like habit. What is a habit, right? But yeah, I think habits are like that. Personal habits, like, I can share this with you. I can share one thing with you. When you live like a writer, that could be a habit, because I think about that every single day. When you live like a writer, everything is a story. When you live like a writer, everything is a story, and it's all about how you tell the story. It's all about how you tell the story. That's a big habit. Yeah.
Okay, what I want you to do now is to tell our audience one internet resource that you can share with them that you use when in your writing.
Wow. I have to tell you that I am not that big internet user when I'm writing. I mean, if this is what your question is all about. So I use internet, of course, for other things like researching. I do a lot of sometimes I spend a lot of time researching for something that I think about should be a story. But internet resources, they're different, I guess. Different internet resources, different. It all depends on the day. It all depends on the topic, something I'm writing about. But so I can tell you that, I mean, I'm not sure how specific this is, but I can tell you that I always try to find useful resources, something you can use, something you can learn, experience, use. So if it's useful, then you're good, because I mean you can use it. Otherwise, otherwise that's something else. So I would appreciate useful resources, something I can use. Yeah, because they're not always
okay.
useful.
Now, we're going to be entering the grand finale, and what I want you to do is I want you to share some connections, connect with you, connect with your book.
Okay,
and then I want you to tell about your book.
This part should be about finding me and finding my book. Well, basically, my book, The Woods, can be found everywhere right now. That all depends on what your platform is, whether you are Amazon lover or you are a Kobo lover, like a Kobo, right? The platform for books. It's one of the most famous platforms in the world. Woods is there. Barnes and Noble, like many different links for that. Or you can go to markrelic.com. That's www.markrelic.com, and over there you have all the updates, all the latest updates about the Woods. So if you can handle looking for the novel by yourself, you can go to www.markrelic.com, and you can find there are links that connects you directly from on the book. I personally made sure that. Otherwise, you can find it on Facebook. You can have like the Woods novel by Mark Relic. There's a fan page and Instagram page as well. But I would strongly suggest the website. The website is is the most functional for that. Also, there is a you can also contact my publisher. My publisher, Book Trail from New York City. Book Trail, my publisher, they are also
so let's
available.
hear about your book.
Sure. To tell you about my book. Well, so The Woods is a mysterious story about an author, a writer who is a writer, yes, but he has to realize, he has to understand how his life goes on, because where he is at the time in the book, it's not quite clear, because he's at a crossroads of realizing what's the next thing for him. That may say that he is looking for an inspiration, and he's struggling to find that inspiration. But he's in his mind, he's very active. He believes in what he does, and so and one day he goes out, something that he rarely does, and he meets his friend, and they go out, and they start talking, and then they have their time out, in the city and all that, like they had many times before, and then something mysterious happens that awakens his peculiar sense of notion to follow that situation. He meets this mysterious person who appears from nowhere, but allegedly he has a very important information for the main character. And so from that moment on, the protagonist decides to follow that notion and to see where that gets him, because he doesn't have anything else, and he needs to move on. The whole thing is about that. What happens when the whole thing takes off from then. Of course, I can tell you very little about that, because that's what Woods is all about. The more I tell you, the more I diminish your possible personal connection with that story. And for me, that's hugely important. That personal connection, that's something you find as worth. The Woods is the place where the whole thing takes off. And so once you go into that woods, once you follow the character and his narration and his experience there, because the whole thing is experience ultimately. You will find mixed feelings. Mixed feelings will find you about that. So it's very strange how the whole thing walks and how the whole thing happens. It was very strange for me too. Right now, as I'm talking about it with you, because it's strange because I don't, I let other people talk about that. I let other people talk about what the Woods is, because I can stand my point. I can stand on my ground talking about it, but I let other people have that for themselves, because it's a personal experience.
Right.
It's something that comes organically. The main idea is ultimately is about identity.
Right.
That's what I had in mind. That's like a the pole of the whole, the back of the whole thing, identity. And so that identity gets tricked, much like everything else that happens in the Woods. So to see that and to experience that, you simply have to read it. And yeah, sure. So Woods is the place that can show you things sometimes in one light. So it can be light, it can be dark, it can be joyful, it can be dangerous, it could be all of that. So it's up to you to experience that. It's really up to you.
Right.
The reason why I'm telling you this way is because, again, it's really personal experience. because this book came organically, very, very organically, considering this is the most autobiographical novel I've ever written so far. Yeah, so it's the most autobiographical, and so yeah, this is something that characterizes the woods. Also, I will let you to decide. I will let you to decide what that is for you. Hopefully, you will find something for you, personally for you, because if the story is personal, that's the most effective story, I think. Right. The Woods is told with a simple language, yes, and so yeah, I hope you have your time with it, and I hope to get any feedback about that. I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a different experience for everybody that reads it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mark.
I greatly and grandly appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you, and I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Mark. Well, we thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up to us. I'm sure our listeners do too, even though we had a couple of technical difficulties, but we made it by doing a little bit of typing and other stuff. Again, this is Michael T., and I thank our listeners for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com. That is bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab on top. Scroll down to one of your favorite platforms, and we will. I got to tell him I'm still here because he can't see me. Scroll down to one of your favorite platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Radio, or Audacity, where you can download and hear us. And please don't forget to sign up for that newsletter and get the latest information on our upcoming shows.
You let me know if I should end the call.
And let me tell him to just wait out. And
okay.
Anyway, Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T., and we're signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.